Every year it feels like wildfires on our planet are getting worse, more destructive, closer to cities, more buildings burning down. So you might assume that wildfire activity on the planet is increasing. But the real picture is quite complex. If we look at global burnt area, it's actually going down. And that's because most of the burnt area on our planet is in the savanna grasslands of Africa and Australia. And here, built up infrastructure, roads, railways, buildings, slow the fires down, and we're seeing a reduced fire footprint in these savanna grasslands. If the global picture is less wildfire activity, why does it feel like wildfires are becoming more intense and extreme? To understand this, we need to talk about where fires are happening on our planet and the intensity with which they are burning. Global burnt area is going down, but in critical ecosystems like forests and peatlands, the frequency of fires is actually increasing. And it's not just the frequency, it's the intensity with which those fires are burning. We're talking about fires that are burning faster and with greater intensity, with larger flames. It's these monster fires that can overcome resources, that leave a trail of destruction behind, that are becoming more common on our planet. So what's fueling these changes? The way a fire behaves is driven by the weather, wind speed, temperature, relative humidity, but the other factor that is often overlooked is the fuel, the vegetation, what is available to burn, specifically how much dry fuel there is on the ground. The amount of dry fuel ultimately determines the size of the flames and the speed with which these fires spread. So it's not just climate change that's an issue here, it's the way that we manage our land that ultimately determines how much vegetation or fuel is available to burn. The abandonment of agricultural land is a good example of this. When there is no adequate fire management plan for the new overgrowth on that land, we see increased risk of extreme fires. The land surrounding the villages and towns that was once agricultural land, once farmed, once managed, once irrigated, has been left to overgrow, start seeing grasses first, then shrubs, and then young trees. And whilst that land is in that phase, we see very high risk of extreme wildfires. In Southeast Asia, we see the draining of peatlands. So this would once have been a tropical rainforest, incredibly resilient to wildfire. You would remove the trees and you drain the peat soil, it becomes available to burn. And finally, in places like Australia and California, we see the abandonment of indigenous fire practices, where fire would have been used to manage the land on a frequent basis. Once you remove that practice, you see the abundance of fuel increasing, and when you do have the conditions that are right for a fire, we see very extreme fire behavior. Decades of trying to exclude fire from landscapes has actually allowed fuel to build up, and this makes fires more dangerous. It multiplies the risk for people and property in rural areas and those on the edge of towns and cities. When fires are burning fast and with huge flames, it requires a resource-intensive effort to fight these fires. Many personnel, aerial attack. It's an expensive, reactive response, and it often takes too long to put these fires under control. The smarter, more sustainable solution is to tackle the fuel problem and to stop these extreme fires before they happen. And that might involve bringing back grazing animals onto landscapes. It might require mechanical cutting in places that are on the edge of built-up areas. It might also require a return to older ways of thinking about our relationship with fire, so bringing back traditional or indigenous fire management practices to landscapes that had evolved with fire but have since had that fire removed. What we're seeing is that there is very little we can do once these intense fires take hold. Dealing with this situation requires us to rethink or return to an older understanding of our relationship with fire, how we manage it, and when we need to embrace it.